Mr. Anderson here for Science Lab 7, and today we're going to be talking about the Earth. But not just the Earth, right? We're going to continue to talk about earthquakes. Now remember, earthquakes occur when the irregular surfaces of rocks catch at those fault lines. Remember, faults are like breaks in the earth, cracks in the earth, where the rocks are trying to slide past each other. All right, and so at these fault lines, those rocks, irregular surfaces catch, but you still have underneath those rocks convection currents, the heating and rising, cooling and sinking of the Earth's mantle material. And that movement of the Earth's mantle material is pushing and pulling those plates around, but we're talking about jagged angular rocks, and they get stuck on each other. And so the stress builds up, and it builds up until the elastic limit of the rocks is exceeded. Those rocks can't bend or stretch anymore, and those rocks break, and the energy is released, and there's an earthquake! Oh my goodness! And when there's an earthquake, right, seismic waves get released. And a seismic wave, these are waves generated by an earthquake. And today we're going to be talking about some of those waves. Those seismic waves get released where the earthquake starts, at what we call the focus. All right, so where the earthquake starts, the point where the energy is released during an earthquake is called the focus. Now, directly above the focus, on the surface of the Earth, that point we call the epicenter. The point on the Earth's surface directly above the earthquake's focus. Now, at the focus, that's where those seismic waves get released. And we're going to talk about three different types of seismic waves that get released. We're going to talk about P waves, and S waves, and L waves. Now, P waves, or primary waves, these move rock particles back and forth in the same direction that the wave travels. P waves move rock particles back and forth in the same direction that the wave travels. This is a lot like a slinky. It's what we call a compressional wave. So it compresses the rock particles together, and those rock particles expand a bit. And that energy moves through the rock like the energy moves through a slinky. Then there's secondary waves. Okay, the second type of seismic wave we're going to talk about are secondary waves. Now, secondary waves aren't compressional waves. They're more like parabolic waves. They move rock particles at right angles to the direction of the wave. It's kind of like if you've ever taken a rope or an extension cord, and you lift it up really high, and then you brought it back down, and that wave of energy traveled through the rope. Or if you've ever been at a sporting event and people wanted to do the wave, okay, they're moving up, right, and the wave is traveling at a right angle to that motion. Okay, so that's a parabolic wave. That's like a secondary wave when we're talking about seismic waves. The third type of wave that I want to talk about are surface waves. Now, surface waves, or L waves, these move rock particles a lot. There's a lot of motion here. They move rock particles up and down, as well as in a backward rolling motion and a side-to-side swaying motion. So there's lots of motion here. Again, these are called surface waves, or L waves. Think of them like lithospheric waves. You could think of it like that. They travel through the lithosphere. Okay? Now, these waves are the most damaging. Okay, they're the most damaging waves. So today, we've talked about seismic waves. We've talked about where they start at the focus, where the earthquake begins. Remember, directly above the focus on the surface of the Earth, that point we call the epicenter. And that's usually what you hear about when you hear about it on the news. The epicenter of that earthquake was, wherever. We've also talked about three types of seismic waves. P waves, or primary waves, S waves, or secondary waves, and then L waves, or surface waves. And again, L waves are the most damaging. Well, I hope you learned a little something, and I hope you stay curious. This is Mr. Anderson signing off for Science Lab 7. We'll see you next time.